when you say that there, line, he says, I want you to take a step and turn around and give me that look you give me.
In 1982, James Caan vanished from Hollywood. No movies, no interviews, nothing. The Godfather star who made millions was suddenly broke, addicted to cocaine, and on the FBI's radar. His mob connections were so real that agents thought he was an actual gangster. He pulled a gun in a parking lot fight, slapped his girlfriend, and asked a real-life mobster to beat up Joe Pesci. Here's the shocking true story of why Hollywood's biggest tough guy was blacklisted for 5 years. James Caan was born on March 26, 1940, in the Bronx, New York City. His parents, Sophie Falkenstein and Arthur Caan, were German Jewish immigrants who had escaped Europe before World War II. Arthur worked as a kosher butcher, a tough job that kept food on the table but never brought wealth. The Bronx in the 1940s was a working-class neighborhood filled with families just trying to get by. Life wasn't easy, but it built character. James grew up watching his father work long hours to support the family. Arthur's dedication taught him the value of hard work, something that would stay with him throughout his life. Even after becoming famous, James often spoke about how those early years shaped him. He never forgot where he came from. Later, when he got involved in rodeo competitions, he would joke about being the only Jewish cowboy. That mix of toughness and humor became part of his personality both on and off the screen. His family later moved to Sunnyside, Queens, a neighborhood known for its mix of Italian, Irish, and Jewish families. It was a place where cultures blended, and James quickly learned how to navigate different social circles. The streets of Sunnyside were his real classroom. He developed a sharp instinct for reading people, a skill that would later help him bring characters to life with authenticity. James often talked about the friendships and rivalries that shaped his childhood. Every day brought new challenges, street games, neighborhood disputes, and moments of camaraderie taught him how to hold his own. It wasn't just about being tough. It was about knowing when to fight, when to back down, and when to stand by the people who mattered. Those lessons became part of his identity. Whether he was playing Sonny Corleone in The Godfather or mentoring younger actors, that deep sense of loyalty never left him. School, however, was another story. He had no interest in sitting in a classroom. He was smart, but academics bored him. He dropped out of multiple schools before finally managing to graduate from Rhodes Preparatory School in Manhattan at the age of 16. His early struggles in school weren't because he lacked intelligence. He simply found life outside the classroom more interesting. At first, he set his sights on football. In 1956, at just 16 years old, he enrolled at Michigan State University, hoping to play under legendary coach Duffy Daugherty. But college football was brutal. Most of the players were older, bigger, and stronger. Many had returned from military service, bringing experience he didn't have. At 5 feet 9 inches, James struggled to keep up. He later joked that his role on the team was little more than a tackling dummy. After 2 years without much success, he transferred to Hofstra University on Long Island. At Hofstra, he was closer to home, but football was no longer his focus. NCAA transfer rules kept him from playing right away, and without the sport, he started looking for something else. That's when he stumbled into acting. During a spring break project, he got his first taste of performing. Encouraged by friends who saw his natural talent, he decided to take it seriously. Soon after, he enrolled at the Neighborhood Playhouse in New York City, where he trained under the legendary acting coach Sanford Meisner. Getting in wasn't easy. The school only accepted 30 students a year, and Caan barely made the cut. Just days before classes started, he convinced the administration to let him in, promising he had what it took. Once inside, there was no room for half-hearted effort. Classes ran from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. and after that, he worked whatever jobs he could find. Waiting tables, lifeguarding, even shifts at a canning company. It was tough, but he was determined. Getting in wasn't easy. The school accepted only 30 students each year. Caan barely made the cut. Just days before classes started, he convinced the administration to let him in. He promised he had the passion and dedication they were looking for. Once inside, he was thrown into a rigorous training program based on the method acting approach. Classes ran from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. every day. After that, he worked whatever jobs he could find to support himself. Waiting tables, lifeguarding, even taking shifts at a canning company. It was a tough life, but he never doubted his decision. He spent 5 years at the Playhouse, longer than most students. It wasn't just about learning how to act, it was about discipline and resilience. When his time there ended, he continued training under Win Handman, a respected acting coach who saw potential in him. Handman gave him a scholarship and became one of his biggest mentors. During this time, Caan learned that talent alone wasn't enough. Hollywood was unpredictable. Hard work and persistence mattered just as much as luck. His first break came in 1961 with a small role on Naked City. It wasn't much, but it was a start. Soon, he was appearing in popular TV shows like Route 66, The Alfred Hitchcock Hour, and Combat. Each role gave him a chance to prove himself. On Route 66, he played characters that showed both strength and vulnerability. The Alfred Hitchcock Hour pushed him into suspense-driven performances that demanded subtlety. Then came Combat, where he played a sharp-minded German sergeant. That role stood out because it was different from anything he had done before. It showed he could handle complex characters. Even though he was getting steady work on television, Caan had bigger ambitions. He wanted to break into film. Hollywood wasn't always quick to embrace TV actors, but he was determined. His first movie appearance came in 1963, in Irma la Douce, though his role was so minor that he wasn't even credited. He played a sailor watching a baseball game, barely part of the main story. It was forgettable, but it marked the beginning of his film career. A year later, he landed his first significant role in Lady in a Cage, 1964. He played Randall Simpson O'Connell, a dangerous young hoodlum terrorizing Olivia de Havilland's character. His performance was intense and unsettling. De Havilland herself praised him for how much presence he brought to the screen. This role proved he could command attention even alongside Hollywood veterans. In 1966, he got an even bigger opportunity. He starred in El Dorado alongside two Hollywood legends, John Wayne and Robert Mitchum. He played Alan Bordillion Traherne, better known as Mississippi, a young gambler looking for revenge. The role gave him a chance to mix charm with toughness. It was a perfect fit. Director Howard Hawks was so impressed that he cast Caan again in Redline 7000, 1965. But even with these roles, breaking into Hollywood's elite still wasn't easy. By 1969, Caan had proven he had talent, but true stardom still seemed just out of reach. That year, he took on a challenging role in The Rain People, a film directed by Francis Ford Coppola. He played Jimmy Kilgannon, a former football player whose injuries had left him mentally impaired. The role was heartbreaking. He had to show both strength and innocence, making the audience feel the weight of his character's struggles. Critics praised his performance, calling it one of his best. But the film itself didn't do well commercially. It was an art film, not the kind that made big money. Still, The Rain People turned out to be a career-changing moment. Coppola saw something in Caan. He knew the young actor had something special. James Caan's big break came in 1971 with Brian's Song, a TV movie that became one of the most emotional stories ever aired. He played Brian Piccolo, a Chicago Bears running back who was diagnosed with terminal cancer. But this was more than just a sports movie. It was about friendship, race, and courage at a time when the country was going through major social changes. Piccolo's bond with his black teammate, Gale Sayers, played by Billy D. Williams, was groundbreaking. They became the first interracial roommates in NFL history, something unheard of at the time. Caan brought Piccolo's personality to life with a mix of humor and quiet strength. His performance made audiences feel every moment of Piccolo's fight against his illness. One of the most powerful scenes came when Sayers accepted the George S. Halas Courage Award and dedicated it to Piccolo with a speech that left millions in tears. The film was a massive success, becoming the most-watched TV movie of 1971, with nearly 50% of U.S. households tuning in. It won 5 Emmy Awards and a Peabody, and its theme song, The Hands of Time, became an anthem of love and loss. For Caan, this role was life-changing. He earned an Emmy nomination, and Hollywood took notice. It put him in the perfect position for what came next, The Godfather. At first, Caan was considered for Michael Corleone, but the role eventually went to Al Pacino. Instead, Caan was cast as Sonny Corleone, the fiery eldest son of Don Vito Corleone. Paramount executives chose him over Carmine Corridi because his height better matched Pacino's, making the brother dynamic more believable. But it wasn't just about looks. Caan brought an energy that made Sonny unforgettable. Growing up in Queens, Caan had been around real-life mobsters. He understood their temper, their attitude, their way of talking. He even improvised one of the film's most famous lines, "Bada bing," which became part of mob culture forever. His performance was intense, and it paid off. He earned an Academy Award nomination for Best Supporting Actor, and Sonny's brutal death at the toll booth became one of the most shocking moments in film history. That scene alone cost $100,000 to shoot. Coppola wanted it to feel as real as possible, so they used over 147 squibs to simulate the gunfire. It was staged to mirror the infamous Bonnie and Clyde death scene. Caan later admitted he was terrified while filming because of the flying debris from shattered glass and wood. The intensity of The Godfather didn't just stay on screen. Behind the scenes, Caan's fight with Gianni Russo, who played Carlo Rizzi, turned into something real. In the scene where Sonny beats Carlo for abusing Connie, things got out of hand. Caan threw a billy club at Russo's head and bit his hand. Russo ended up with 2 broken ribs. Years later, he claimed Caan took things too far, but Caan denied hurting him on purpose. Even though Sonny was killed off, Caan returned for The Godfather Part 2 in 1974. The scene, a flashback set before Vito Corleone's death, gave audiences one last look at Sonny's presence in the family. Originally, Marlon Brando was supposed to be in the scene too, but he refused over a contract dispute, leaving Caan to carry the moment with Pacino and the rest of the cast. James Caan's career in the mid-1970s was filled with roles that pushed him into new territory. In The Gambler, 1974, he played Axel Fried, a literature professor whose life spirals out of control because of his gambling addiction. Directed by Karl Reis, the film wasn't just about gambling. It was about the thrill of risk, the weight of self-destruction, and the desperate search for control. Caan brought all of that to life with a performance that felt both reckless and deeply human. One of the most unforgettable moments comes when Axel turns to his mother for help, asking for $10,000 to cover his debts. The scene is uncomfortable to watch because it feels so real. Caan made you see the shame just beneath his character's arrogance. His work in the film earned him a Golden Globe nomination for Best Actor, proving once again that he wasn't just a leading man, but one who could carry complex, layered roles. Just a year later, Caan took a completely different turn in Funny Lady, 1975. This sequel to Funny Girl brought him into the world of musical drama, playing Billy Rose, a songwriter and businessman who falls in love with Barbra Streisand's Fanny Brice. The movie was a massive hit, earning $40 million at the U.S. box office and becoming the 7th highest-grossing film of the year. Streisand was the main attraction, but Caan's performance added depth to their complicated relationship. He played Billy as both charming and ambitious, a man who loved Fanny but struggled to hold on to her. His work earned him another Golden Globe nomination, showing that he could handle romance and music just as well as intense drama. That same year, he took on a completely different kind of role in Rollerball, 1975. The film was set in a future where corporations controlled society, using a brutal sport to keep the public distracted. Caan played Jonathan E., the biggest star in the game, a man who refuses to retire despite the growing dangers around him. His performance gave the film emotional weight, turning what could have been just another sci-fi action movie into something more thought-provoking. The film was a success, earning 4 BAFTA nominations, including one for its striking art direction. Over time, it became a cult classic, praised for its ahead-of-its-time themes about power and control. Caan's next project, The Killer Elite, 1975, brought him into the world of espionage and betrayal. Directed by Sam Peckinpah, the film starred Caan alongside Robert Duvall as elite mercenaries caught in a deadly game of revenge. It was also one of the first American films to feature ninjas, blending martial arts with gritty action. Some critics thought the movie felt more commercial than Peckinpah's usual work, but Caan's performance was a highlight. He brought intensity to the role, making his character's struggle feel personal rather than just another action story. The film also marked the last time Peckinpah worked with composer Jerry Fielding, adding a sense of finality to their long collaboration. By 1977, Caan had built a career playing strong, complex characters, but he was also willing to step into an ensemble cast. In A Bridge Too Far, 1977, he joined one of the most star-studded war films of its time. Directed by Richard Attenborough, the movie told the story of Operation Market Garden, a failed Allied mission during World War II. Caan played Staff Sergeant Eddie Dohan, a role based on real-life soldier Charles J. Dohan of the 101 St. Airborne Division. One of his most powerful scenes involved him holding a surgeon at gunpoint, forcing him to treat his wounded captain. The moment, though slightly dramatized, captured the desperation and loyalty of soldiers in combat. Though the film received mixed reviews, it was a major production that won 4 BAFTA awards and became the 6th highest-grossing film of the year. Sharing the screen with legends like Sean Connery, Michael Caine, and Anthony Hopkins, Caan proved he could stand out even in a cast full of Hollywood's biggest names. James Caan was at the top of his game when everything started falling apart. In 1981, his younger sister Barbara died from leukemia at just 38 years old. She wasn't just family. She was his best friend and a huge part of his career, working as an assistant on his directorial debut Hide in Plain Sight and other projects. Losing her broke him. He didn't know how to deal with the grief. It pulled him into depression and drug addiction. Barbara had always been the passionate one, pushing him to do better. Without her, he lost all motivation. He started questioning everything. If he couldn't put his heart into something, he didn't want to do it at all. That was when he walked away from Hollywood. At the height of his success, he stepped back from acting to focus on raising his son Scott and coaching Little League Baseball. But it wasn't just about taking a break. His life was unraveling fast. In the early 1980s, his cocaine addiction got out of control. He later called it a death sentence. He lost his home and found out too late that his accountants had mismanaged his finances. By the mid-1980s, he owed hundreds of thousands of dollars in back taxes to the IRS. He was too deep into drugs to even notice what was happening. His addiction also got him into legal trouble. He was arrested several times during the decade for violent outbursts, including slapping an ex-girlfriend and pulling a gun during a parking lot argument. Hollywood wanted nothing to do with him. He was seen as a risk no one wanted to take. Everything changed when he realized how much his son was affected. In one terrifying moment, Scott grabbed a baseball bat and confronted a drug dealer. That was the wake-up call. Caan knew he had to get clean. He went to rehab multiple times throughout the 1980s and 1990s, struggling to regain control of his life. His first step back into acting came in 1987 when Francis Ford Coppola cast him in Gardens of Stone. But it wasn't easy. Studios were hesitant to insure him because of his past. Coppola had to fight to get him the role. His 5-year hiatus from acting between 1982 and 1987 wasn't just about addiction or grief. He was also fed up with Hollywood. His directorial debut, Hide in Plain Sight, had been a personal project, but studio interference led to disappointment. The film flopped at the box office despite strong reviews, and Caan walked away from the industry. Coaching Little League gave him something Hollywood no longer did, a sense of purpose. But when he was ready to return, it became clear that things had changed. Then came the rumors about his alleged mob ties. These weren't just wild stories. He was close friends with members of the Colombo crime family, including Andrew Russo, who was reportedly the godfather of his son Scott. At one point, FBI agents even mistook Caan for a real mobster. In 1982, things took an even stranger turn. Mobster Anthony "the Animal" Fiato claimed that Caan asked him to rough up Joe Pesci over an unpaid $8,000 hotel bill. Caan denied it, but Fiato insisted he had tapes to prove it. Another story came from former Gambino underboss Salvatore "Sammy the Bull" Gravano, who claimed that Caan had asked mob boss Joe Colombo for permission to play Sonny Corleone in The Godfather. There was never any proof, but the rumors followed him for years. Despite everything, Caan managed to rebuild his career. When he returned in 1987, he had something to prove. Gardens of Stone was his first movie after the break. Francis Ford Coppola directed it, the same man who gave Caan his big break in The Godfather. The film wasn't about war itself. It focused on soldiers at Arlington National Cemetery, men who buried the dead, and struggled with what it all meant. Caan played Sergeant Clell Hazard, a veteran who hated the war but felt responsible for guiding younger soldiers. The movie flopped at the box office, but it didn't matter. It reminded everyone that Caan was still one of the best. 3 years later, he took on Misery, 1990. The role of Paul Sheldon had already been rejected by major stars like Harrison Ford and Al Pacino. The reason was simple. Most actors didn't want to play a character stuck in bed for nearly an entire movie. Caan didn't care. He saw the challenge. His job was to make every small movement, every line of dialogue, count. Then came the scene no one could forget. The hobbling moment. Kathy Bates, playing the obsessed fan Annie Wilkes, raised a sledgehammer. A second later, Paul Sheldon's ankles shattered. Caan's scream sent chills through the audience. His performance was overshadowed by Bates, who won an Oscar, but critics still praised his ability to convey fear, frustration, and desperation. Misery became a box office hit, earning over $61 million. To this day, it remains the only Stephen King adaptation to win an Academy Award. Even King himself listed it among his top 10 film adaptations. The 90s gave Caan a second life in Hollywood. He shifted gears in Honeymoon in Vegas, 1992, playing Tommy Corman, a slick gambler who sets his sights on another man's fiancée. The movie had energy, humor, and a now iconic skydiving scene with Elvis impersonators. Caan made sure his character felt real, adding charm to a role that could have been a simple villain. In 1996, he switched things up again with Eraser. This time, he played Robert De Guerin, a corrupt U.S. Marshal who goes up against Arnold Schwarzenegger. The movie was loud, action-packed, and a massive hit. It made over $242 million worldwide. Caan's performance stood out. He didn't just play a bad guy, he gave De Guerin intelligence and confidence, making him a true threat. That same year, he took a risk with Bottle Rocket. It was Wes Anderson's first film, a low-budget indie comedy. Caan played Mr. Henry, a small-time criminal who mentors two wannabe thieves, played by Owen and Luke Wilson. The film wasn't a hit at the time, but it later became a cult classic. More importantly, it showed that Caan wasn't afraid to experiment. James Caan had a career full of highs and lows, but he always found a way to stay in the spotlight. In 2003, he made a surprising move by taking on his first starring role in a television series. Las Vegas premiered on NBC on September 22, 2003, with Caan playing Ed Deline, a former CIA officer turned casino boss. The show followed the daily operations of the Montecito, a fictional Las Vegas casino, and quickly became one of NBC's standout hits. The network invested heavily in it, spending $5 million on the pilot alone, making it the most expensive pilot in NBC's history at the time. Most of the filming took place at Culver Studios in California, but the crew also shot on location in Las Vegas to bring authenticity to the series. Caan's character wasn't just a tough boss, he was also a mentor to Danny McCoy, played by Josh Duhamel, which gave the show an emotional core beyond the glitz and high-stakes action. He stayed with the series for 4 seasons before leaving in 2007. His reason for stepping away was simple: he wanted to return to film. In his final years, Caan took on a different kind of role in Queen Bees, 2021, a romantic comedy drama about life in a retirement community. He played Dan Simpson, a charming but complex man who helps Ellen Burstyn's character, Helen Wilson, adjust to her new surroundings. The film explored themes of aging, second chances, and companionship. Caan was 78 when it was filmed and 81 when it was released. Though the movie had a modest box office return, earning $2.3 million against its $5 million budget, it found unexpected success on Netflix in January 2024. It made it into Netflix's top 10 movies in the US, proving its appeal to older audiences. Queen Bees was Caan's final on-screen performance before his death on July 6, 2022. Away from the cameras, his personal life was just as eventful. He married 4 times and all ended in divorce. His first marriage to actress D.J. Mathis in 1961 lasted 5 years and gave him a daughter, Tara. In 1976, he married Sheila Marie Ryan, but their relationship fell apart within a year. They had a son, Scott Caan, who would later follow in his father's footsteps as an actor. His third marriage to Ingrid Hayek lasted from 1990 to 1995, producing another son, Alexander James Caan. His longest marriage was to Linda Stokes, lasting over 20 years from 1995 to 2017. They had 2 sons, James Arthur and Jacob Nicholas. Caan's relationship with his children, especially Scott, had its challenges. His struggles with drug addiction created distance, but over time, they repaired their bond. Scott acknowledged his father's mistakes, but appreciated his efforts to make amends. Despite his career success, controversy followed him. His second wife, Sheila Ryan, accused him of physical abuse during their short marriage. In 1994, his ex-girlfriend, Lisa Ann Rowland, claimed he assaulted her in a Los Angeles hotel, leaving her with a broken nose and a black eye. She filed a lawsuit, but it was dismissed. Caan admitted to some incidents, but often downplayed them. In one interview, he described an altercation as an accidental slap and insisted that some accusations were exaggerated. His name also became linked to Heidi Fleiss, the infamous Hollywood Madame. In the early 1990s, he admitted to drug use, but denied paying for prostitutes. Fleiss later claimed they had an affair, which fueled speculation. In a 1999 interview, Caan made a controversial statement, saying he never paid for prostitutes, but gave them cocaine instead. Stories like these painted a complicated picture of his off-screen life. Through all of it, James Caan remained one of Hollywood's most recognizable stars. He played mobsters, gamblers, cowboys, and even romantic leads, proving he could do it all. His career spanned more than 5 decades, and even in his final years, he found ways to connect with new audiences.